Thanks for listening. This is the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we'll talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shanna Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district. And I'm joined by my producer/husband.
Hi, everybody.
Fuzz Martin. Today, we're going to talk to you about Padlet and Google Keep.
But first, we should talk a little bit about who we are, since this is our very first episode of the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. And you and I have been talking about doing this for a while, but not everybody will know who we are. In fact, probably most of you won't until you...
That's okay.
So give us a little bit about your credentials and your experience in the classroom and with EdTech.
All right. So I have been teaching middle school for 15 years now. I've worked in traditional classrooms. I've worked in a project-based charter school. I've worked in many different classrooms and situations with all types of students with different types of backgrounds. I have my master's in educational technology. I have been a presenter at the Slate conference here in Wisconsin. I am working on Google certification, so I am so far a Google Education Certified Level 1 educator. And I also have my FANUC certification for robotics.
Probably not everybody knows what a FANUC robot is. Quick, give us a little bit of what FANUC means.
If you're familiar with manufacturing and a lot of the robots that you see are the bright yellow,
the big yellow arms.
The big yellow
right?
arms, yeah. There's 6-axis robots, and so they have the 6 joints, and you see them a lot in manufacturing in this area. But they have many different uses. You'll see them working on like cars and painting and things like that. So
we'll do an episode down the road here of
robotics
and manufacturing technologies that are being taught to students in middle school and high school now, and helping them get a better foot forward in the manufacturing field as they go ahead with their careers and come out of education. I am Fuzz Martin. I am an advertising executive, and I was in radio for 15 years before I got into advertising, and know how to run a computer. So I'm going to be the producer of the show.
And a microphone. So
and,
we're in business.
And I do use a lot of the tools that Shanna is going to talk about in the professional world. So a lot of these that we talk about cross over, and you can even use that when you're teaching your students, when they get familiar with these, when they get out into the professional world or even in their secondary education, they can use these to help them organize and do lots of them, present, and do lots of different things like that. So how about we get into the 2 topics of today's episode?
All
and
right.
We're going to start with Padlet.
Padlet. The first website is Padlet. I think a lot of teachers are familiar with Padlet because it's a great organizational tool for your students. If you have never used Padlet before, it is very user-friendly. You just sign up. You can sign up with your Google login, and you click Make a Padlet. So the website opens up, says Make a Padlet once you've signed up, and you have lots of different choices. What's great for students is you can have all of your students organize a specific way. If you want all of your students, like the shelf option, everything makes straight columns, and so students can put information in that way. But what's nice about Padlet is it helps students organize their ideas. So it fits into many different subject areas, and I'll give some of those examples. And it's easy to collaborate, so students can share their Padlets with one another. My students share with me as a teacher, so that way I don't have to have a bunch of assignments turned into me separately. I'm just shared on it, and I can see all their work. So using Padlet, it's a super positive website. It says, "Welcome to your new beautiful Padlet" when you open up. It talks about like the description, made with taste for adventure. So it's kind of cool that it always gives positive feedback with your students, even just opening up the website. They can choose their own backgrounds and they can load in their own pictures. My students' favorite thing is to find pictures that match the theme of what we are discussing. They also like to throw in GIFs sometimes, so that way then their backgrounds move during their Padlet, which, while is beautiful, can sometimes be distracting. But as long as I can read their information, I usually am totally fine with them picking their own backgrounds. They're able to fix, and this is a little newer for Padlet, but you're able to fix not just organization, but you can change your fonts as well. Again, super exciting when students are creating and able to come up with their own stuff.
Do you find that ever it gets to be like we're spend more time coming up with the fonts in the background than doing the work?
Absolutely. That is part of the creative process. But students also learn the fact of that they have time management and they need to work on getting their stuff done.
Certainly.
So, again, with Padlet, then you get it all set up. It walks you right through the process that you need it to, and you just click next. You keep moving through. You can add contributors. You can keep it password protected. You can keep it completely private or public. So you have all of those options, which is really nice. And then they can add, so you can have several students, shared with me and shared with other students within the same Padlet. I use them for social studies where the students have done some research and then they organize their Padlets. So they collect all their notes and they can organize them and see them. And then sometimes I have them do their own research where they're exploring new topics that they're interested in. And it's an easy way for them to organize their thoughts and then share with others within a group so then they can collaborate if they're working on a project.
Can they put in like links and images and stuff?
Yep, they can add images, they can add links, they can add all kinds of information. There's like a spot where they can upload pictures and they can upload the information that they need to within their Padlet. It's kind of like giant Post-it notes where they can pick and choose their information, put it in there, organize it. Depending on the format they choose, some of them they can drag and move things around. Some of them are very linear. It kind of depends that way. I have a math teacher at my school that uses Padlet instead of... they keep like a notebook in math class, but sometimes he doesn't want to do these foldables with them. So instead the students create Padlets and they organize their notes and they're able to put diagrams in and then they can see everything for math class that they need to. What some teachers are not aware of is that technically, even though we are in a digital world and some of us like to be paperless, those who like to print, you can print from Padlet. So once kids have designed a Padlet, you can actually print it.
Oh, cool.
And have a hard copy if you need to. So sometimes in that math class, then they print them and they can just attach them into their notebook. So that way they have visuals and they're organized as well, which is kind of cool.
So looking at it over your shoulder, it kind of looks like the program that we use to organize our thoughts for this show, which is called Trello, which we can talk about on another episode. But Trello is something that we use in the advertising agency. We use to manage projects and move them along and collaborate with different coworkers. And I see that it's set up in that same sticky note type of fashion, I guess, at least in the screen that I'm looking at right now on yours, that where you can click and drag across different types of columns and different areas, so you can organize your thoughts and make sure things are all together and moving the way that they're supposed to.
What's also nice about Padlet too is you can like certain Padlets so they can come up later on. If you click on the little heart in the upper right hand corner, they're easy to find later on and organize them that way. The one downfall I find with Padlet is when you're using like the free version of Padlet, you only can have 4 Padlets at a time. But rarely are the students working on 4 Padlets for 4 different teachers at the same time. So in my classroom, once we've done a Padlet, if it was an assessment or as a project or notes or whatever, when they're done, we make sure they have all the information they need. But that way, if they have to delete it, they know that they only can keep 4 Padlets at a time.
Sure. Do they have a educator version of Padlet? Is that?
It's more or less just they have a free version and then a paid version.
Okay. They do have the for school. But its plans start at $12, so I'm guessing that means that if they were making this like a non-free version, that it runs through on their premium side, if you click on Forest Schools on their website, it talks about how it says plans start at $12. I'm not sure if that means $12 per student or per class, but that could be I'm guessing, school plan $1,500 per year, includes unlimited teacher and student accounts.
Yes. So, but usually as teachers, we're looking for things that are free.
No, absolutely. I was just wondering. There's a
if you really love it,
there's a teacher plan that is $99 for the year, or $12 per month if you, which includes unlimited student accounts if you want to pay for it. But if you want to do the workaround, that's why we're having this show here.
Correct. So you can do up to 4 Padlets for free, and then just delete them as you don't need them.
Yeah.
But I have found it very useful with my students, and the students really enjoy using Padlet. I have had a student who gets frustrated often in my class, just say, hey, like, we should do these more often. It keeps them organized, and it's just, they feel accomplished when they've done it, and they're able to collaborate very easily with others in a non-Google format, I guess, because you're able to collaborate a lot in Google, and Padlet's another option if you aren't using Google or you want to switch it up a little bit with your students.
So speaking of Google,
yeah.
Let's talk about Google Keep.
Google Keep. If you're not familiar with Google Keep, you'll find it if you go into your email and you click on the little waffle, or some people call it like the grid in the upper right hand corner of your Google email, or anytime you're logged into Google. If you click on the waffle. The waffle, yes, makes you like waffles are yummy. So click on the waffle, and you'll find Keep, which is the yellow light bulb, or the little yellow square with a light bulb in it. You can click on Keep there. You can also find Keep just on the right-hand side of your email. So where you'd find your calendar.
If you have Gmail, if you guys work with Gmail at your school.
Yeah. So if you have Gmail in your accounts. So
otherwise you'll have to use this with your personal account if you're not using Google Classroom. We're kind of assuming that a lot.
Most districts
are, but
Google.
Yeah.
Not all, but if you're looking to use it with students, it's very helpful that the students have it in their email.
Yeah, but if you are in your email, in your Gmail setup email, on the right hand side, if you click that little light bulb, it'll load up Keep for it. It'll show you all your notes and allow you to just click Take a Note and start taking notes.
So, using Google Keep for both as a teacher, like with other staff members, and with students is amazing. I'll start a little bit, I guess, as staff. We use Google Keep often for keeping everybody in the loop when we're not all in the same room, or if there's a meeting going on and you have to miss it, or if there's projects going on or things like that in the school. We put it in Keep, and then we add everybody as collaborators. So when you're in your Keep and then you click the little plus button down in the bottom, and you have all those options. Once you take your note, and you can add people. So we just add all our staff members. I color code things often. Not everybody does. But just a way of sharing information with one another. It's super effective. Most of our teachers also have it set up to their phone then. So then their Keeps come through on their phone. So we can quick say, hey, we're in this meeting. Where are you? Or, hey, we're in this meeting. Here's all the notes. Let us know when you're going to be here. Sometimes there are pictures of Chuck Norris added to Google Keep with other teachers, just to, lighten up our days a little bit. So Google Keep as a staff is wonderful to keep everybody on board. And it's really easy to find and sort. Especially if we're planning an event and we keep notes in Keep, because then we can drag it into, I'll put it into our meeting minutes, or into our, if we're keeping docs or we're making posters or flyers or stuff to go home, all that information we can just drag and drop over, which is really nice. So that way you're not retyping things and the information isn't lost.
One of my favorite features of Keep, and probably actually the only feature that I actually like in the professional side of it, is the ability to do those lists that you can create and click the check boxes on. We talked, one day I asked why you don't use Evernote or OneNote, and you told me that that's not something educators use. We use it all the time professionally, and you're obviously professional, but I mean outside of the education realm. what do you see as the advantage of Google Keep? I think I see like
it's there with everything. Yeah. So like when we're in email versus docs versus drawings and Google Classroom, everything that we have runs Google. So it just all coincides with one another, and it's very easy for us to use and collaborate with one another without having to use something that's not a part of what we're using as a whole, I guess.
Yeah, certainly. I think one of the issues I ran into, I guess, just mainly is like formatting but if you're just doing it to do a quick, I'm just looking at it from the outside
looking in.
Outside looking in.
Yes, I've had people ask about Evernote and things like that. Some people are more familiar, but it's just
it's another account to manage, and it's
something
outside the realm.
Else added in versus this is already there.
Yep.
But anyway, like Keep though, so staff, adults in the building, like we use it all the time. For students, I have been working with my students quite a bit in the last year to get more familiar with Google Keep, because I feel like their organization sometimes falls apart, especially probably 3 months into the school year. Like we're going good, we get everything started, and then they've lost it all. They forget where things are. So training my students, just exposing them to Google Keep and then using it as a class, I have found to be super useful. So with Google Keep, I've been working with one of my reading groups, my reading classes, where the students are all in book clubs. And in book clubs, one person each day keeps notes in their Google Keep and then adds their other group members as collaborators. And then once they split into different groups, and they were not with the same group anymore, they were able to have all of the notes already there for their group. And so it was just a great way to keep them organized, and they started like color coding and realizing, wow, like I could put stuff in there. And since they were doing nonfiction books, then we started adding pictures in, so they had visuals to go with the notes they were keeping, because all of that can go into a Keep. And then like the next step was to take everything from their Keep and transfer it into their Google Drawing, because everything connects. They can also transfer the stuff from their Keep into their Google Docs. So if they're writing a paper, they have all of their notes right there. They can take bits and pieces, drag it right into their paper.
Do they have, this is just because I don't exactly know how the setup always works with like students and Chromebooks and such. Can they put extensions in Chrome, like the Google Keep Chrome extension? Can they, as a student, add that?
It depends on the district.
Okay.
And what's allowed within their Chromebooks within their district, if they're one-to-one, or if districts are, they have carts that are shared. It depends on like their email setup and stuff.
Okay.
So some districts you're able to add the extensions, and some you have to just work from what you're able to access.
But definitely as an educator, there's the extension that you can use in Chrome where you click on the Keep icon, and then it allows you to, like if you're at a website that you remember and take notes on and use.
Yep, and they can just mark it and they can move ahead from there. But for student organization, I've seen amazing things done with Google Keep. I saw a 5th grade teacher one time. The kids ran inquiry projects based where everything was kept in Google Keep. And for 5th graders learning how to use it, each note was kept in Keep individually, and then they color sorted. So then, like if they're doing a research project on different types of sea life, like fish were all one color, and then plants were one color. And so that way, as a 5th grader, they had a great visual going through for notes, and then they were able just to drag it into their documents. And have their paper pretty much set up for how they need to write their paragraphs. So I think it's a great tool for students to learn to use at the younger grades, even in smaller pieces, just because it teaches them organization quickly on, and how to use the computer, like computer skills, which I think is really great too.
That's excellent. Well, look at that. We made it through episode 1 of the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast.
We did.
Good work.
Padlet, Google Keep. Try them out.
We'll put all these links up on the website. smartinwi.com is the address. And we will also then have a link to this episode. You can share with your fellow educators and tell them all about this cool new podcast, which is super awesome, you guys.
That was really cheesy.
I know. It was supposed to be cheesy. That's why, look, if I'm going to produce the show, I at least need to be a
little cheesy.
A little cheesy.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This has been the first Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at SmartInWI. And if you want to get more information about the links to the technology discussed on this episode, as mentioned before, you can visit smartinwi.com. New episodes will happen each week. Thanks for listening, and go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast and the Smart NWI website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies we discuss in this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. Make sure that this is all good to go. And this podcast offers no guarantee that the tools that we talked about today will work for you as described, but we certainly hope they do. Talk to you next time.